Good evening, and thank you for tuning into today's edition of Spotlight. We are placing our radar on the Office of the Special Prosecutor and its new nominee, Kissi Agyebeng, as head of that office. Now, he's a 43-year-old legal practitioner who has some 18 years at the bar. He's also chairman of the Electronic Communications Tribunal. And in a letter to the presidency nominating Mr. Agyebeng, the Attorney General, Godfred Dame, expressed satisfaction with Kissi Agyebeng's requisite expertise on corruption and corruption-related matters. Now, he also praised his high moral character and proven integrity as stipulated in the Section 13(1) and 2 of Act 959. And if vetted and approved by Parliament, we know that Mr. Agyebeng will be replacing the very famous Martin Amidu, who resigned from the position on November 15, 2020. It seems like such a long time ago, but I remember it like yesterday. We'll shortly be analyzing all of this with an interesting lineup of lawyers, anti-corruption campaigners, and most importantly, two key members of Parliament who were at the forefront of moves to pass the act which created the very office of the Special Prosecutor. Before all of that, we'll take a quick breather, and when we come back, Spotlight continues. Do stay with us.
Year-old Kissi Agyebeng was nominated by the Attorney General Godfred Dame due to his requisite expertise on corruption and corruption-related matters. He is also said to be of high moral character and proven integrity, and is the current chairman of the Electronic Communications Tribunal of Ghana, a position he has held since 2019. He was also vice chairman of the Appeals Committee of the Ghana Football Association between 2017 and 2018, as well as an associate of the African Center for Cyber Law and Cybercrime Prevention since 2010. He was called to the Ghana Bar in 2003 and has practiced for 18 years as a lawyer, eventually venturing into academia in 2006. Lecturing criminal law, international humanitarian law, company law, commercial law, and legal research and writing at the University of Ghana. He has also lectured at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, Central University College, and Mount Crest University. Mr. Agyebeng read law at the University of Ghana for his bachelor's degree and then went on to complete the professional law program at the Ghana School of Law in 2003. He obtained a Master of Laws in Marine and Environmental Law in May 2005 from the Shoreditch University of Law, Dalhousie University, Canada. The 43-year-old has handled many landmark cases, including representing ace investigative journalist Anas Arameyal Anas and Tiger IPI in the legal tussle with some justices of the court after an expose revealed some malpractices within the judiciary.
That's quite a profile, but before we look into the individual, we'll be looking at the office on its own. I mentioned earlier that we're joined by a very solid panel. Now, we have Inusa Fuseni, who is a former ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, as well as a former member of Parliament of Tamale Central, Alhaji Inusa Fuseni. He's going to be joining us shortly. We also have Ben Abdallah Banda. He's a former chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, also a former member of Parliament of for Offenso. Bobby Banson is a legal practitioner, which is very key to this discussion. We also have Edem Senanu. He's an anti-corruption campaigner and a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Of course, we cannot discuss corruption without an anti-corruption campaigner. So we're going to be getting very in-depth opinions from all these people that are joining us. Gentlemen, welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you.
Good. Now, I want to start with Mr. Abdallah. Good afternoon. Can you hear me now? Your line was frozen earlier. If you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself. Hello, sir? Okay. I think the line is still pretty shaky over there. So let me just go to... okay. Hello, sir?
He responded and then muted, so he needs to unmute.
Mr. Banda, just kindly unmute yourself so we can get your sound. Okay, I'm going to let my producer get in touch with you and sort all of that out, because we definitely do need your input. But let me go to Bobby Banson, who is a private legal practitioner. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on Spotlight. Now, here is a question. Look at the office of the Special Prosecutor. How would you rate that office, especially in the last 6 months that Mr. Martin Amidu resigned?
I'd say what has happened between then and now.
The office in general, and then this period of his absence.
Looking at the kind of traction that Mr. Amidu's leadership of that office brought to the institution, and seeing that he was the first SP filling that position, a lot of people were interested in it, and I think the also sustained some level of momentum relating to the interest that people would have in the affairs of the SP. But since that time, when he left, as acting, I have not heard anything about the office since that time. And until now, Kissi Agyebeng being offered that. So it's, in the last 6 months, I don't think there has been any major serious news related to the office, nothing about any investigation we're doing. No activity of any sort. But when Mr. Amidu was there, even though a lot of us were complaining about the pace with which some investigations were going on and some cases that we thought would get his attention, but we did not get his attention. I think that slow pace in his time that some of us complain about is better to the no pace at all that we have experienced in the last 6 months. So we can only hope for the better.
Slow pace is better than no pace at all. Mr. Senanu, if you can quickly give us your, a summary of what you think about the Office of the Special Prosecutor so far, before Mr. Martin Amidu left office and after he left office. Do you think it has had any significant impact? Because there have been serious expectations of that office.
Well, thank you. Yes, we all had extremely high expectations. Indeed, I called the president brave to take that kind of decision, because knowing Mr. Martin Amidu, he cuts always. And so you can't appoint him without expecting that your government would come under his microscope and he will lead the charge in raising things against you. But it was also picking an accomplished person who did not belong to the party and putting him there. And that was highly commendable. Subsequently, it appears that the skill set that Mr. Amidu brought to bear on setting up the office, there probably were a few gaps. I think that his team building and collaboration skills probably didn't get him far enough. The kind of collaboration other agencies should have had with the SPO to get results on cases, we didn't see that. And then the level of communication of challenges, whatever they were, was too far and in between. I think he should have been updating us much more frequently,
Right.
so that we could have worked along with him.
Yes. Yes.
Long and short of it,
I
the
think most of those
office at the
updates
time of
started
his
coming,
exit,
the updates started coming after people started complaining about the slowness, yes,
absolutely,
in seeing results.
absolutely. And we also, at the end of the day, we really didn't have him meet the expectations the way we wanted to, because I don't remember a single case that we can see was brought to closure. So
He did
the
start.
office,
He did start a few cases too, right?
yeah, and he had problems in court with some of them,
Yes.
some very embarrassing. So with all the euphoria with which that office was set up, unfortunately, yes, we had somebody who was competent enough. We didn't get the level of traction we expected. And there's still a lot more that we'll be expecting that office to deliver.
Senanu,
Stage,
I don't
yes.
mean to cut in, but there's just this question I need you to answer. Now, you seem not to be too impressed with the output from the office so far, but would you say Mr. Amidu did a good job?
It's difficult to say. I think when you say good, that's qualitative. I'll say he did at least more than average.
Okay.
I don't know about.
But was it as much as
good.
expected, or maybe our expectations were too high?
No, it's certainly. Yeah. I don't think it was as much as expected. Indeed, I feel that he should not have copped out. I think that he had what it takes to have, if he felt that the government was manipulating or influencing, I think he had a legal framework within which to have contended and still stood strong. So I'm not quite convinced he needed to exit. And well, we are where we are today, and we have somebody else being nominated. So let's see what happens next.
Thank you so much, Senanu. Let me just check if we have a stable connection with Mr. Banda now. Hello, Honorable. Honorable Banda, good evening. Can you hear me? Please try to unmute yourself if you can hear me. Okay, we are going to try other means of getting to him. So please, maybe let's change the connection and see if that will work better. But let me go back to Bobby Banson, who's still with us. Now, Senanu, gives us an interesting opinion about, the objectives not exactly being met, but at least Mr. Amidu did something, in his opinion. Could have done more. But now we see a different individual who has been nominated. Given Mr. Martin Amidu's larger-than-life personality, he was such a popular candidate among Ghanaians. Hasn't he left really large shoes for anyone to try to fill?
I mean, I think that Mr. Amidu, if I had my way, he wouldn't have left. I think he came to
that seems to be the common sentiment.
Yes, he came to the position with a lot of expectation. What he was doing when he was referred to as the citizen vigilante gave us a lot of hope. But the manner in which he exited left a lot to be desired. Some have interpreted it to mean that he failed and then he wanted excuses to take a walk. Some said that he couldn't do what he wanted to do because the system was set up for him to fail and he didn't want to fail, so he had to leave the scene for somebody who could tell to the system.
But if let's assume the system was set up for him to fail, can anyone succeed in that position?
Yes, I think that we would have people who can succeed. You see how, if you look at Mr. Domelevo, who definitely was set up to fight a system that had been set up against it, including members of his board, board chairman. This was a public fight, so it was in the public space. It's no secret. But the man stood on his grounds and he insisted in doing the right thing and did not resign or did not walk away. And so the powers that be, were pushed to the wall that they had no option than to bite the bullet and kick him out. So that posterity, it became very obvious that this man was fighting against a system and the system wanted him out. If you compare that situation, the way Mr. Domlevo exited, which even though, so the way Mr. Domlevo exited, it was very obvious that the man was pushed, forced out. Let me use it that way. But with Mr. Martin, he resigned because he said he didn't want to fight the system. Yes. But Mr. Domlevo fought the system to the extent that the system had no option than could not have accommodated him in that same space. So they found a way of kicking him out. And so posterity would always be on the side of Mr. Domlevo because it's only one-sided. But when it comes to Mr. Amidu, it's not very clear because people would say he could have stood, he could have fought. In any event, he fought when the NDC was in power without fear or favor. Why is he not fighting when the MPP is in power and said, I don't want to fight because I'm leaving? And so it leaves a lot to be desired, in my humble opinion. Whoever has taken or will take over that position, definitely we will judge him with perhaps the vigor of Mr. Amidu, not necessarily the outcome of his investigations, because you will not have any major transaction that he investigated or deal that he investigated that saw the light of the day. The most important one we saw was this corruption risk assessment report on the Japan, which was touted as not an investigation, but an assessment report. So we cannot say that he investigated a transaction that had major national traction. So whoever takes over, we would want to see whether he would, as much as possible, give the public every day what you journalists term as a news bite, for us to know that, okay, the office exists. Because that is, we want visibility. That is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Whether or not it will make the office visible as Mr. Amido did. That is one thing.
Visibility and results too. Yeah.
Exactly. So the second thing will be results. So in as much as you can score Mr. Amidu all the marks for visibility, I don't think that a lot of us or a lot of people would score him that same high marks for results. And we understand that he was fighting against the system. He decided to walk away. So whoever takes over that post, I would measure the person by these two thresholds: visibility
and results. That's interesting. I think they include what most people will be looking out for. Visibility and results from the new person. Is Mr. Kissi Agyebeng positioned to give the office of the special prosecutor visibility and bring results? Because a lot of Ghanaians have been demanding for results even before Martin Amidu exited the office. Now, we've been joined again on the line by Honorable Ben Abdallah Banda, who is the former chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. He's also former Offenso South Member of Parliament. Honorable, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. We were trying earlier to get to you, but the connection wasn't helping us. So,
the connection was bad.
Yes. Now, from where you sit as a member of parliament who led the charge for the passage of the act that created the entire office of the special prosecutor, do you think Mr. Kissi Agyebeng has the skills necessary to succeed in that office?
Okay, let me say good afternoon to my co-panelists and all your listening viewers.
Thank you.
I know the newly nominated special prosecutor from afar.
Okay.
But I've read a lot about him since his nomination. What I have seen is a litany of achievements. And when you take his academic background as a measure, one will not have any lingering doubt in one's mind that Mr. Agyebeng is a right choice for
The job,
the position is being nominated to occupy. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, what the people of Ghana expect is the result. The special prosecutor, by the architecture of the law, is supposed to be reporting to Parliament with respect to the progress of the work of the office, with respect to the number of investigations, the number of cases that he has investigated, the number of cases that the special prosecutor has prosecuted, the number of cases that has been dealt with, how many people have been convicted, how many people have been acquitted, and so on and so forth. So if we want to track the progress or the success of the work of the special prosecutor, apart from the special prosecutor coming out publicly and be giving us a progress report with respect to his work, if you want to check the actual and the accurate record of the work of the special prosecutor, then you need to go to Parliament and have the record, the complete, the holistic record of the work of the office of the special prosecutor. So let's keep our fingers crossed and give the newly nominated special prosecutor the benefit of the doubt and hope that he is the right cat for the job that he is soon to occupy. So I sincerely believe that he's a person who can really do the job.
Honorable, if you had to pick though, would it be him?
Yes, you see, what I have always believed in, which has been my philosophy or my principle, is that academic background is good, educational background is good. The bottom line is that the people of Ghana expect a result. If you were to ask me whether given the opportunity or the chance, I will nominate him, yes, I will nominate him. Because I'm highly impressed with his academic laurels or with his academic background. So if that alone is a measure, then one can say without any hesitation or equivocation that Mr. Agyebeng is somebody who can really do the job. And I've also done quite a few checks, background checks about him. And what somebody told me, or people say about him, is that he is a real litigant. So if he's a real litigant, and then what that should tell you, or that should tell anybody, or that presupposes that the man is somebody, when he decides to hit, he will hit without looking back at all.
Thank you, Honorable Ben Abdallah. Please stay on the line with us while I quickly go to Edem Senanu, who is still on the line, I hope. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much. There are different perspectives where the individual is concerned. Would you say that he has what it takes to lead this charge against corruption?
Well, my position is the jury is still out on that. Unlike, and that's where the comparison or contrast with Mr. Martin Benkaiser, Alemisi, Amidu gives you food for thought. When I was told there was a new nomination and the name was called, I didn't know who we were talking about. I didn't have a clue. I had to do some background checks myself.
You're saying he's not known in anti-corruption circles?
That's my, yeah. I haven't heard of him in anti-corruption and corruption circles. So if you look at those three elements of Act 959, Section 13, subsection 2, ABC, I think C is the easiest to deal with. 12 years legal, when he has 18 years, done. B, proven integrity, somebody will need to go through the history and tell us because we don't know. But I think that my major concern, and I suspect other people in the corruption, anti-corruption space, is what is the track record of expertise relating to corruption and anti-corruption issues? Remember that the SPO is a concept designed to deal with some historical facts. What are those facts? That over the course of time, we noted that our attorney generals and minister of justice were unlikely, very rarely, in the position of taking on their own peers and other members of the government when there were issues of public graft. And so the thinking behind the SPO was, let's have an office that is secluded, has the logistics, is independent enough, has someone who has the posture, has the grit to speak truth to power and get results that deal with these things that we don't see any action or traction on. And so this is a very unique responsibility and function. And in my view, it would be more assuring to know the specific areas where he has had to deal with public graft or public officers, held them accountable, that he fully understands the scope. As Dr. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala would say, you fight corruption, corruption fights you back.
Now, let me just interject there a little bit. But Mr. Banda mentioned that he has a reputation for being a real litigant.
I don't know what that means. Litigant in the corporate world is not the same thing as being a litigant against government.
Right.
I mean, there are two different spaces. And when you're doing it against government, depending on who's in government at which time, and whether you're close to them or not, and what the implications are, there's no keeping up appearances that we are a democratic group or political party. There will be factions who don't believe in what you are doing, irrespective of whether the president has good intentions of putting you there or nominating you. Your friends have nominated you. This is a space where your friends become your enemies overnight. Does he understand the heat it involves? Has he had that exposure and experience? When they start attacking you, will he be able to stand? Don't forget that Mr. Martin Amidu copped out. The citizen for Vigilante himself copped out when the fire was hot. So it is not enough to say he has a lot of experience. It's not enough to talk about the criminal law order. I'm asking, what is the specific experience, expertise related to corruption and anti-corruption because of the uniqueness of that
position?
Rule. And we need further and better particulars. And that's not to say that he will not be able to play the role. It's just that at this point, I am uncertain and will certainly love further and better particulars to allay my fears.
Okay, so these are critical things to note. Your jury is still out on the fact on whether he is suitable enough for the position or not. You also do not know about him in anti-corruption circles. That's quite an interesting thing to note there. Now, I'm going to come back to you because I have another critical question for you, like in a moment. So please stay on the line. I'll be with you shortly, but I just want to go over some constitutional provisions where that office is concerned for the benefit of our viewers. Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has the mandate to investigate and prosecute all suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses as pertaining to public offices, politically exposed persons and persons in the private sector alleged to have been involved in any corruption and corruption-related offenses. Apart from initiating investigations on its own, Act 959 gives the Office of the Special Prosecutor the power to receive and investigate complaints of alleged corruption from the public or investigate suspected corruption or corruption-related offenses upon referral from public bodies such as the Attorney General's Department, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, and the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO. Now, Section 13(8) of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the Special Prosecutors Act, 2017 Act 959, requires the president to appoint a qualified person for appointment as special prosecutor to that position within 6 months of that position being vacant. I was just speaking to Edem Senanu, and I'm just going to go back to him there. He is not too certain if the right person has been chosen yet. He acknowledges his qualifications, though. He's also quite unknown in anti-corruption circles. But my question, Senanu, is would you have chosen someone else? Is there a particular name that you would have chosen for that office?
Actually, I have not wrapped my mind around that. In fact, for some reason, I believe that there were plenty of Ghanaians with the credentials. I have this kind of pride about Ghana and our capacity, our human resource. I was quite sure that the president will find somebody. I didn't doubt that we're going to get someone who could occupy. Just that with this particular nomination, there are a few questions. That's not to say that the nomination may not qualify or be able to produce the results. But at the moment, there are some questions. And in relation to the law, it's good to ask them so that we don't just sweep things under the carpet.
Let me just go to Bobby, who's still on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I hope
Yes.
you can hear me.
There are some people who think that the deputy who was working with Martin Amidu for a while before he left office is, very well experienced with the position and should have been given a chance. Is this something you agree with?
Well, it's not what her age was, because there's a compulsory retirement age for that office, and I'm sure that because the enabling act of the office of the special prosecutor has a term left.
Okay. Technology is not our good friend today.
The attorney general may have considered somebody who would have. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It keeps freezing, but I can hear you.
It's also acting for the past 6 or so months, was not considered to be appointed permanently for the position. And the only justification, that benefit of the reasoning by the attorney general would have been that they may have been looking for somebody who for long time. So I don't know which of the current act, but that is the only is known in that field. She has worked with Mr. Amidu, and so she would have been the obvious, unless there was a supervening reason why she should not have been nominated. So the age being Mr. Kissi Agyebeng, I do not see brings on board the current not have.
Okay. Quite a few more questions for Mr. Banson, but his line is a little shaky now. Yes. We're going to get him back. He's not off yet. He'll be coming back in a few minutes. We're going to try to stabilize the line, maybe try an alternative connection. But Mr. Banda, if you're still here with us, looking at the relevant positions, would you say the deputy of Martin Amidu has a lot of experience and should have been made a substantive instead of someone else being nominated?
Oh, okay. The issue of the nomination of the prosecutor by the president himself. What I mean to say is that it is the prerogative of the president to look at a lot of factors, the Constitution and other factors to nominate a special prosecutor or to appoint a special prosecutor to occupy that office. The deputy special prosecutor has is quite an experienced person because she was once upon a time working with the Attorney General's Department. She has done quite a number of criminal cases in court. So her record is something that we can all be proud about. But I, sitting here, am not privy to the circumstances that led to the proposal and the nomination of Mr. Agyebeng. But I have no doubt in my mind that the Deputy Special Prosecutor could also have as well done the work that the Special Prosecutor can do, because at the end of the day, in the absence of the Special Prosecutor, it is the Deputy Special Prosecutor that steps in instead to manage the affairs of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Be that as it may, as I have said, it is the prerogative of the President to give the final okay to the nomination. Of course, subject to the prior approval of Parliament. It is the prerogative of the President to give the final okay to the nomination of the Special Prosecutor. So if you ask me whether the Deputy Special Prosecutor can also handle the office, I will say yes, but maybe some consideration, maybe in terms of age, in terms of maybe law, and some other considerations were the deciding factors for the nomination of the gentleman we are talking about as the Special Prosecutor to occupy the office of the Special Prosecutor.
Honorable, beyond these things, as someone who contributed to the establishment of this office, shouldn't there be a bit of gender sensitivity here?
That's why I am saying the gender sensitivity is that argument is not is countered by the fact that we still have a Deputy Special Prosecutor who is a woman.
Yeah, but are we going to keep giving the deputy position to women?
If you ask me this question, it will be difficult for me to say because
okay.
I mean, we are all trying to guess. She has been approached, and she said that maybe due to certain limitations, she will not be in a position to occupy that office. You and I will not be in a position to tell. But maybe she was approached and she said she wasn't interested. So I think that we should leave it at that.
Right. You think we should leave the gender angle at that. But let me find out from Adam if he thinks we should leave the gender angle at that, or we should be asking questions around why we haven't seen a woman as the substantive yet, and if we should be expecting that. I mean, women have also been at the forefront of anti-corruption campaigning. So Adam, should we leave the gender angle at that?
Well, not necessarily. I remember that in getting the law crafted, the inputs from civil society included a process for doing a short listing where stakeholders had an opportunity to give input into the short listing, and then government had, or the president had, the opportunity to choose out of the short listing. I think it will still be useful at some stage to review the nomination process, learning from Mr. Martin Amidu and subsequent appointees, and seeing how we can ensure that all the available competent people, male and female, are given equal opportunity. Because I think that part of the question, for example, when I say we don't know him in anti-corruption.
Circles.
And what about corruption and anti-corruption expertise? It's simply about the process. Because if the process was opened up a little bit, we all have a sense of what criteria was used in arriving at a certain Mr. Kissi Agyebeng, and why not the deputy who is there, and why not some other one. So I think that the gender issue is important. I think that if you look at the demographics, and women already have a higher percentage in terms of population statistics, there's absolutely every reason, both from demographics and from a strategic knowledge of how women have shaped development and contributed to it. And maybe it's not a discussion that the men, because we're in a patriarchal society, like to talk about a lot. But from my space as a development practitioner, we say that the single most important factor in curbing the cycle of intergenerational poverty and in moving development is female education and support. And we are clear that there are strategic dividends to be gained when you begin to look at management and other issues from that heart. So I will align with saying that shouldn't be thrown out of the equation.
Great. Thank you for that. I haven't exhausted that yet, so I'll be back in a moment. But I wanted to find out if we've been able to get counsel back on the line. Hello, Bobby.
I am here.
Oh, great.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Now, I'm just going to go back to Senanu quickly soon. But the question here is, you're a legal practitioner. Senanu mentioned the fact that the process, if the process were a bit more transparent, more public, then we would have less questions. We'll also probably already have explanations to what went into the selection. Now, as a legal practitioner, were the provisions met in choosing this nominee? Mr. Hello? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Yes, did you hear my question?
Yes, yeah. Speaking about whether or not the selection process should have been more or should be transparent so that people could contribute. I think that the criteria for first the law, which was element, is the Attorney General. The criteria for nomination has of 12 years minimum, moral integrity, just same qualification for. When the person is nominated, this parliament of Ghanaians, and so the representatives of Ghanaians. So if anybody has any reason why the person who has been nominated should not be approved by parliament, I believe the person would accommodate to the person. So if they being transparent, we have to put it in the context of the law that establishes the office of the special prosecutor.
Yes, the line.
Other persons before bringing up the name of.
We can barely hear. We can barely hear. So we'll try to re-establish connection. Hopefully this time it's very stable. Mr. Abdullah, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for staying. Now, when we look at the office as a whole, and the focus seems to be so much on the individuals who occupy the office, and it looks as if the work is going to revolve around the individual, and in the absence of that person, the office literally falls apart. The office doesn't exist anymore. Meanwhile, we know when Martin Amidu left, there were a lot of staff who were left behind, but the office seemed to go very silent. How can we strengthen the office of the special prosecutor to ensure that the focus is not so much on the special prosecutor himself, but the institution is strong, improved, and stable enough to do the job?
Okay. The point is that whenever you create an office, you make a provision for a particular person who will be occupying the office. An office is obviously occupied by a human being. If you look at the architecture of the law, the short title of the act reads the Office of the Special Prosecutor. That appears to give an impression that the mirror is solely on the special prosecutor himself. But if you read the law itself, you realize that apart from the special prosecutor, who is the boss, we have the deputy special prosecutor. And of course, that is to be expected because it was within the contemplation of the executive who were the sponsors of the bill then, and the members of parliament who ensured the passage of the bill into a law, that the special prosecutor himself alone cannot execute the mandate entrusted in the hands of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It is on the basis of that you made a provision for deputy. It doesn't mean that when the special prosecutor is absent, the office has to be dormant. And the office will not be dormant because in that same act, it is provided that in the absence of the special prosecutor, the deputy special prosecutor steps in, except that within a period of 6 months, the president must ensure that a substantive special prosecutor is nominated and appointed to occupy the office. I do not know why the office appears to have been dormant after the departure of Martin Amidu. Probably they were working behind the scenes because corruption doesn't begin with prosecution. Corruption begins with even getting information, initiating investigation into a suspected corruption matter, assessing all the circumstances, and finally taking a decision whether to send the matter to court or not to send the matter to court. So if we really want to know whether after the departure of Martin Amidu, the office has not been working, then I think that the best place to go is to go to Parliament and check from the records of Parliament whether since his departure, some available information has been forwarded to Parliament. But Martin Amidu is the type who wants to engage. He wants to engage the press. He's the type who is always seen talking. But if you compare the deputy special prosecutor with Martin Amidu, one can tell right from the outset that she is a woman who is quite calm and who may not be too much interested in coming out publicly to engage at the press, unlike Martin Amidu. That explains the reason why probably some people are under the impression that since the departure of Martin Amidu, the office has been dormant. The office can't be dormant because the office was not created for one particular person. The office was created to be occupied by a person. If the person leaves, there is a deputy who is to step in. If the deputy should also leave due to certain circumstances, there's a procedure that has to be followed for a new person to be nominated and appointed to occupy the office.
Honorable, now I'm asking you this question because this office seems to be, very close to you. Now, there are some people who also think we have put in so much money, and when I say we, I mean the country. In budgetary allocations, we have been privy to some sums that have been allocated to the office. People think that we are not getting enough returns for what we are spending in maintaining the office and fueling the office. Do you think we are getting the required returns, the returns that we expect, returns that match with how much is being spent on the office?
Okay, you see, for an office to be made maximally use of, it depends on the occupant of the office. I know when I was the chairman for the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, enough funds were allocated to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Funds, operational funds, and even funds to cater for the salary of the Special Prosecutor, his deputy, and the staff of the Special Prosecutor.
Where are the results?
You see, the point is that the former Special Prosecutor is not here. It's not part of the panel to maybe answer certain questions that we may be asked. But the point is that if you had intended to use the limited resources, government cannot provide everything. I mean, government will not always have sufficient money to allocate to all agencies and ministries. That won't be possible. So the limited resources that are made available at the disposal of every office, and for that matter, the occupant of that office, those limited resources must be put to maximum use. If you recall, in 2018, when the budget was read, the money that was allocated to the Office of the Special Prosecutor was even bigger than the money that was allocated to the Attorney General's Department. So the Attorney General's Department is undoubtedly bigger than the Office of the Special Prosecutor because it handles more cases than the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And when the second budget was also read, some reasonable amount of money was also earmarked and allocated to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So, you see, I mean, what I will say, what I will say for now is that we should not cry over spilled milk. What Martin Amidu came to do, I mean, that is history now. But it is always good to also try and make comparative analysis in order to look at how the new person coming to occupy the office can carve out a niche or a good reputation or a future for himself and the office. So far as prosecution of corruption and corruption-related matters is concerned.
Honorable, but is it worth it if the public seems to be seeing that the office seems to be spending more money than it's intercepting from corruption?
I didn't get that.
If the office is spending more money, we're spending more money on the office than we are intercepting from corruption through the work of the office. Does it? How do we rationalize that?
No, there's no evidence to say that the office is spending more money. But
no, the issue here is that we haven't seen any real evidence of monies, like huge monies that have been retrieved through the work of the office, from corruption.
You see, when you read the book of Once Upon a Time, a finance minister of Nigeria, Dr. Iwiela, fighting corruption is dangerous. Fighting corruption is really dangerous.
Yes.
Because, you see, apart from the resources, apart from the independence of the office, apart from other overriding factors that are intended to ensure that the occupant of the office is able to deliver on its mandate. The will, the determination of the occupant of that office also counts a lot.
Right.
Whatever it is, once it is corruption, you'll be dealing with cabals, you'll be dealing with a lot of people. You have to be very fair.
So you're coming up against a lot.
You see, the heat will be coming. You see, it is this heat probably that Masnami could not stand and he was out.
Honorable Banda,
Yes.
just in like your closing remarks, because we are running out of time. Some quarters believe that the new nominee is a little too young for the position. Is he too young to occupy that position?
No, I don't think that he's too young. People, there have been presidents in Africa or in some parts of the world who are even
younger,
below the age, who are younger than the newly nominated special prosecutor. So it's not young. It depends on what he brings on board.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdallah Banda, former chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, also former Offenso South Member of Parliament. We're so grateful for your time. Now, I'm just going to check if Bobby Banson is back on the line. It was so difficult to hear him before.
I've actually been here all the time listening.
Oh, thank you. So I was thinking it's only fair before we go, because we didn't hear, the line was so bad we couldn't get enough submission from you. Please sum it up for us before we go. What can we do to strengthen that office and its reputation and to get enough results for the funds that are put into it?
I believe in the fact that in the long term, every country should invest in building strong institutions. But I've come to accept that you need strong men from the beginning to establish strong institutions.
Okay.
Because naturally, human beings, without being told to do A, B, C, D, and I think it's called the carrot and stick scenario in economics or something, that you have to be told whether there's a benefit if you do right, or there's a punishment if you do wrong before you move to act. And you need somebody at the end there telling you what you are doing, you get punishment or you get benefits. So we will need a strong personality to establish the institution from the beginning.
Is Mr. Kissi Agyebeng that strong personality?
I have no reason to doubt. I think that I have encountered him briefly, I think twice or so in our professional life, and he comes across as a very principled and hard person. Hard person as in, if he believes that it is A, it doesn't matter your relationship with him, he will tell you in the face that it is A. So whether he's your lawyer or not, this is what he knows, this is what he believes in, he will tell you. I have no doubt that he's going to bring that level of integrity to the office and consistency in terms of not trying to dance to anybody's tune, but actually thinking of leaving a legacy. You know, one thing that we must note to sum up is that this is someone who has decided to move into public office at the height of his private practice. His private practice as a lawyer is not declining. For you to say that, okay, he didn't have anything to do,
option,
and that is why he's going to public. No, he's at the height. He's a university lecturer.
Doing quite well. Okay.
He's done very, very good cases. He's still there in the private sector as a lawyer. And I mean, every lawyer will tell you that it pays more to be a private practitioner than to be in public service. So if he has decided to move into public service at the age of 43, at the height of his career as a private practitioner, then I believe that he's been informed by the fact that he has something that he knows he wants to offer to the country.
Thank you so much.
Leave behind a legacy. And so I have very high expectations of him.
Thank you so much. Bobby Banson is a private legal practitioner. We also still have Edem Senan, who is an anti-corruption campaigner and co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Edem, sum it up for me in two seconds. Is that possible?
You're asking for too much. But let me say two things. One, I very much align with Bobby's analysis of things. I think he's done a more compelling job of speaking to the candidate or the nominee
Okay.
Bobby, government should engage you to speak more about this nomination so that we get more. No,
To do
seriously,
PR for the
I like
SP's
that.
office.
And honestly,
Yes.
I think that you have helped me
You,
much more than most of the
you seem
people
to
we've
have
spoken
sold
so
the
far.
candidate to Adam.
Uh, so let's have more of the Bobby Banson speaking on behalf of government.
Right.
We wish Mr. Kissi Agyebeng all the best at the vetting, and if he's given the nod, he should know that Ghana deserves so much more. We have high expectations, and we are hoping that he will deliver
He can deliver.
and deliver something that we'll all be proud of.
Thank you so much. Very high expectations on Mr. Agyebeng. We'll be following, of course, the updates on this particular story as it develops. We will also bring you the verting and more information on that right here on MX24. Please stay with us as we bring you more fun, fearless, and factual content. My name is Nwong Falong. Thank you for staying with us. Good evening.